Hi gang, it's Josh. I wanted to tell you a little bit about a book that I've been reading. I finished it this weekend. It's a very short book, Mortality by Christopher Hitchens. I picked it up in Barnes & Noble a few weeks ago and just now got around to reading it. In 2010, Christopher was diagnosed with esophageal cancer, and he died in 2011, in December 2011, I believe. It was June of 2010 when he was diagnosed. And this book is about him dealing with processing his own death, and how he's coping with the treatment for his cancer, and how he's coping with really, I guess, losing the things that he cares about. And he talks about like what particular things there are in life that really make it meaningful for him, that he's very loath to lose. And yeah, so just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about that, and about how Christopher helped me in my own journey from Christianity to atheism, and just kind of about the reality of death, and how that's one of the sort of core existential concerns, and something we all face. And I think it was good for me to to be confronted with this book, to engage with someone who is who was a very sharp mind. He's extremely witty, he's extremely funny, even in talking about very dark things. He's making light of it, and he had a big influence on me as I was transitioning out of Christianity, because I kind of came across Sam Harris, Richard Dawkins, and Hitchens as kind of three prominent atheists that I public atheists, I suppose. They're people who write books and are arguing against God and religion, and even arguing that it's harmful, and all kinds of they're arguing that it's harmful to society, and I guess I needed that to some extent. I needed to kind of be broken out of the shell of Christianity that I had been a part of. I needed to get a different perspective, even if it was a radical perspective in some ways. And I think in some ways that Dawkins and Hitchens and even Sam Harris to some extent do represent a more radical viewpoint, like a more radical atheism in a way. But because it's kind of a militant, anti-theistic atheism. It's not just a lack of belief, but it's actually a, no, we are actually against theism because it's harmful. Which is, I guess I sort of agree I guess I really, to be perfectly honest, I do agree that theism is harmful. But at the same, I think that certain aspects of it are harmful, at least. I think you can be a theist and there'd be absolutely nothing harmful about that. But, maybe you could have a better life as an atheist, but people are different. People have their own needs. People have their own desires, and I want to respect that. Sort of what's most important to me is really just respecting individual freedom, almost above, to the extent possible, without infringing on other people's freedom. So freedom of thought and freedom of worship and all that is pretty important, I think. But anyway, I still think that, you know, deism in government and in schools and things like that is it's not what I want, and it's not what I'm going to vote for. And you know, to some extent, I think it's caused more harm than good. So anyway, that was a rabbit trail. But you know, Hitchens really meant a lot to me. I think just because I connected with him as a person, much like Sam Harris, I very much connected with him as a person. I just like Sam Harris. I've seen him talk live, and you know, I just like the man. And I don't necessarily agree with everything he says, just like I, you know, probably don't agree with some of Christopher Hitchens' politics or, you know, views on all sorts of things I don't even care about. But I suppose it was, you know, his arguments against God and his wit and, you know, the humor with which he argued that, you know, really captured my attention and I guess in a way it inspired me. So I read his book with you know, a lot of expectation, this Mortality book, and it didn't disappoint me. And I think that one of the things that I got out of it, like really more than anything, I mean, he talks about a number of things that he will miss, or he is missing as he's dying. Writing is a, you know, he talks about writing being the breath of life for him, and how, you know, he's afraid that he's not going to be able to write anymore. He talks about conversation and not being able to use his voice anymore. His voice is going, and you know, from day to day it may be there, it may be not. And I think that the thing that really struck me was the parts that he talked about human relationships and connection with other people, and how friendship meant a lot. And you know, there's a quote here I was going to read where he says, "For me, to remember friendship is to recall those conversations that it seemed a sin to break off, the ones that made the sacrifice of the following day a trivial one." So, you know, I mean, he's talking about like just spending the night away in conversation, and I don't know, that idea just struck me, and it seemed so beautiful that you know, to have a deep intellectual and emotional and you know, in all ways deep relationship with another human being, and it really just brought home the point to me that that's something that's worth pursuing in life. That's something meaningful to me, at least in life, and I think it's meaningful to many people. And I think that one thing we come to understand when we start facing the reality of death is that a lot of what's meaningful in life is love and connection and caring about others, and you know, sort of feeding and being fed by others. There's a quote by Stephen Hayes, who's a guy that I really admire, who's a psychologist, researcher, and he sort of invented or founded acceptance and commitment therapy, which has meant a lot to me because it really helped me overcome some behavioral issues in my life, which I might talk about at some point. But Stephen Hayes has something that he says, and I don't know if it's original with him or not, but he says it all the time, and he has it in his signature, his email signature, and it's love isn't everything, it's the only thing. And you know, more and more I think I'm coming to agree with that. That almost love is all that we really have. And another part of this book that really struck me was the sort of afterword written by Hitch's wife, Carol, and she's just talking about like different moments from their life, and you know how her husband was such a hard act to follow, and you know things that he did, just like you know planning a Thanksgiving get together for the family, and just you know she remembers one scene where you know their 2-year-old daughter was like pointing to a bumblebee and saying, "Make it start," and they're just like on a you know she and Hitchens and their daughter are just you know on a rooftop, like a hotel you know or patio or something, and just you know enjoying a fall day. And I don't know, that just seems so beautiful to me. It seemed so meaningful, and it's interesting to me that those are the kinds of things that she remembers. You know, it's just their love for each other, and you know the way they communicated with each other. She talks about him sending emails while you know they're in opposite. I mean, they're in adjoining rooms in the house, and he's sending emails about random things or leaving notes. And you know, it's kind of a side of Christopher Hitchens that I didn't really think about that side of him existing, but he had, I think, 3 kids, and it definitely did exist. So I don't know. I guess it just kind of makes me want to be remembered that way. You know, it makes me want to find some meaning in my life that would, I guess, would allow me to have that kind of impact on other people, where you know it really hurts if I leave their life, and I guess that means to me that my life was meaningful somehow, that you know that if someone else feels my absence, you know, I think it's easy to wonder if anyone actually would feel your absence, and I think it's really easy in the modern day to become so disengaged from other people and from life that you know, sure people would feel your absence, but maybe not to the extent that they could. You know, maybe you could have a much greater impact on others. I don't know. It's interesting just how death and life experiences and sort of the life experiences of death, because death is not just an event but a process of you know many losses, and as an article I was just reading was saying, there's sort of symbolic death, and you know I think we're in a continual process of living in a way, but also of dying, and you know I guess to some extent thinking on death and thinking on loss and pain and struggle and suffering crystallizes certain things that are important, and I think that you know finding what's important really matters, obviously. So anyway, those were some pretty random rambling musings, but you know, maybe you got something out of it, and I'd like to talk a lot more about these things, and hopefully in a more coherent fashion. But anyway, I really recommend this book. I think it's great. I think it's great writing from Christopher, and you know, I guess it sort of gives you the space to kind of think about these issues for yourself. So it's a good book to reflect on. Alright, well, have a good one. See you in the next video.